What if you could see sound? And I don't mean looking at waveforms on a computer screen. I mean, what if you could see the actual physical patterns that vibrations create in the world all around us? Well, today, that's exactly what we're diving into. We're exploring the absolutely stunning field of cymatics, which is the study of making sound visible. So, take a look at this. At first glance, you're probably thinking it's a beautiful, glowing flower, right? Something you'd find in a really cool botanical garden. But here's the thing. It's not a plant at all. And what about this one? It looks alive. It has this intricate cellular vibe, kind of like we're peering at an organism through a super powerful microscope. But again, this has nothing to do with biology. So if these aren't flowers and they're not cells, what on earth are they? Well, both of these incredible images are the answer to that one single fascinating question we started with. What if you could actually see sound? Because that's what you've been looking at. These are patterns created by pure vibration. They are, quite literally, sound made visible. This whole phenomenon reveals a kind of hidden architecture to our world, showing how simple frequencies can organize matter into these stunningly complex, almost lifelike forms. It's such a profound idea. After seeing this work, the writer Jeff Volk put it perfectly. He said, "These experiments seem to reveal the hidden nature of creation, to lay bare the very principle through which matter coalesces into form." It's a big thought, and it's really the heart of what we're exploring today. Okay, so how is this even possible? You might be thinking it's some kind of high-tech computer generation, but the science behind these images is surprisingly and beautifully straightforward. Let's break down how it all works. So here's the basic setup. You take a simple metal plate and attach it to an oscillator. That's really just anything that can create a steady vibration. Now that oscillator is hooked up to a frequency generator, so a scientist can dial in very specific musical tones. Then you just sprinkle something like sand or powder onto the plate. And this is where the magic happens. As you change the frequency, that sand just organizes itself into these incredible, perfectly ordered patterns. And this amazing field of study has a name: cymatics. The term was coined by Dr. Hans Jenny, the guy who really perfected these experiments. He got the name from the ancient Greek takumatika, which simply means matters pertaining to waves. I mean, what a perfect name for the art of making waves visible, right? But to really understand cymatics, you gotta understand the man behind it all. Dr. Hans Jenny wasn't your typical lab coat-wearing scientist. He was a true Renaissance man, and it was his unique perspective that made this work so groundbreaking. Get this, Jenny was a practicing family doctor, but he was also an accomplished painter, a talented musician, and a deep observer of the natural world. This incredible blend of art, music, medicine, and science, it gave him this holistic view of things, letting him see connections that pretty much everyone else was missing. And this is a really crucial point. For Jenny, this was never just about making cool patterns with sand. No way. He was on a much bigger quest. He wanted to witness the fundamental, rhythmic principles of nature and action. You know, the same principles that create the stripes on a zebra or the perfect spiral of a galaxy. This led him to his central, guiding idea that the patterns he was creating in his lab weren't just random, pretty shapes. He believed they were actually miniature models of a universal law of creation that you can find everywhere in nature. And this slide just illustrates his point perfectly. These are not photos from a nature documentary. They're both cymatic patterns created with sound. And yet, the resemblance to a turtle's shell or the spots on a leopard is just uncanny. Jenny saw these echoes of nature everywhere in his work, and it convinced him he was looking at a universal principle of creation. But Jenny pushed this idea even further. He wanted to visualize the creative power of the sounds we make. So he invented a device he called the tonoscope, which could actually translate the vibrations of the human voice, or even a whole orchestra, into a visible form. The results are just breathtaking. On the left, you can see how a simple vowel sound, like saying "oh," creates a clear, organized pattern. But then look at the right. That incredibly complex, textured form was generated by a piece of orchestral music by Bach. It proves that every single sound, from the simplest to the most complex, has its own unique corresponding geometry. So, all of these incredible experiments, they were all leading Jenny to a single unifying vision. It was this idea that connected the patterns on the plate, the waves moving through the air, and the frequency creating them, all into one inseparable whole.
He called it the basic triadic phenomenon. And it's the idea that three things are always happening together as one. You've got the form, that's the visible pattern you can see. You've got the movement, that's the wave flowing through the material. And you have the periodicity, that's the underlying vibration that's generating the whole thing. For Jenny, you could never ever separate these three. They were just different faces of one single event.
And from this idea, Jenny made a profound leap. He proposed that maybe everything in existence, our own bodies, our emotions, maybe even our thoughts, could be seen as complex forms, just like his cymatic patterns, all organized and held together by these underlying vibrational fields. What's really wild is how this vision lines up with modern physics. Decades earlier, Albert Einstein had written that in the new physics, the field is the only reality. Jenny's work gives us this stunning visual demonstration of that exact idea, that the invisible field of vibration is the real power, the force that organizes physical matter into the shapes we see. So the big takeaway here is that cymatics is so much more than just beautiful patterns. It's like a new lens for seeing the world. It lets us peek behind the curtain and see the fundamental truth that form isn't a static thing. It's a dynamic dance of vibration. It reveals the invisible forces that shape everything, from a grain of sand to maybe our very own bodies.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If sound can create such intricate beauty, what other hidden forces are out there, quietly shaping the reality we experience every single day?